I had a request to do a video demonstrating the formatting of a novel. I found this one on Project Gutenberg. I'm probably saying that wrong, but the free ebook emporium. And this is a book by St. Thomas More called Utopia, quite a famous book. It was written, I think, in the 15th century, or the 16th century, 15 something. Thomas More's obviously been dead a very long time, so it's going to be completely out of copyright, so I thought it was safe to use this as a demonstration. Now, when I brought the book over from Project Gutenberg, it had, I'm just turning on show and hide, it had an awful lot of line endings that it didn't need. So all I did was go through it a paragraph at a time and bring up the find and replace box and get it to search for a paragraph mark. And then in the replace box, I just had nothing and then did a replace all. And I had to do that on each paragraph. If I had done it on the whole manuscript, it would have taken every single line end, manual line ending, the paragraph mark. It would have taken all of those out and I'd have just been left with one scrunched up mess. So that's just a bit of background to explain what I did. What I need to do now is to put some page breaks in because it's just running on at the moment. When we're doing print formatting, we tend to use section breaks rather than page breaks, which are here. I also use a shortcut. I add an extra command up here by doing a more commands thing and choosing the command. So I've got the things I use most often up here, and that's my paragraph break. I'm going to put it in as an odd page so that it starts on the right hand side, and then the same for the introduction to have that start on a right hand side. Now, before I do anything else, I want to make the whole document the normal style, and then I can go through and add heading styles later. The normal style at the moment is the default, which in most versions of Word is Cambria. I should explain, I'm using an older version of Word deliberately. I have 2016, which I like for many reasons, but I also dislike. This is 2007 that I'm using, which I find more stable. 2016 jumps around with the zoom, especially when you're using a double page spread, which I like to use a lot. So I just can't be doing with it. So I go back to the older version. But the commands are the same, so it doesn't really make much difference. So I've made everything normal, and I'm going to change that normal style. I've right-clicked on it, and I'm going to click Modify. I'll just stick it in Cambria. Cambria's good. And Right Justified. Probably do 12. It's a bit easier to read. So Cambria, not Right Justified, Fully Justified, and size 12. And then I'm going to go down to Format Paragraph, because the default in Word is for this terrible 1.15 multiple line spacing and 10 points after, which is just too much, and it's a bit too much white space. We'll go for, let's try it at least 15 with 6 points afterwards. We'll see how it looks. Might take it down to 14 later. Okay, so okay and okay. Okay, so the whole novel now should be in Cambria, and it's a good idea to check because sometimes you'll find bits that aren't, but it's quite obvious usually what they are. For our half header page at the beginning, I'll just take it up a couple of points to 14, a couple of lines down, and make it bold. Okay, now we would normally have a cover, or rather a page that's attempting to copy the cover. I'm not doing that with this because I don't have a cover for it, but normally you would be putting that in there as well. But the main thing with a novel is an indent, and I've realised I've changed normal incorrectly for a novel because I do so many non-fiction books. Generally, in novels, we have an indent at the start of the paragraph, not the space between. So if you're going to have an indent, you don't have a space between. If you're not having an indent, you do have a space between because you need it. You need that bit of white space for the reader to be able to see where the paragraphs are. They need that. They get stressed without it. Now, we've got the normal as being flush left. I'm going to do a copy of that for so we've got normal at flush left. I'm going to change that, be awkward. So this is normal, and normal is going to be indented. It's going to be first line indented, so I'm not indenting over on the left here as that would indent everything. I'm only indicating first lines. I'll give it 3 and see how it looks. Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes I go 2, 2.5. I'm going to go 2.5. Otherwise, it looks like you're trying to pad it out. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to change the name to normal indented, which it will say there, and then I'm going to build a style based on that. So I've clicked on the little arrow to the right of the styles block, and I'm coming down here to new style, and it's going to be first para. So it's based on normal, so everything else will be the same apart from anything else I change here. So what I'm going to change is that first line, so I'm going to take that away, and first lines won't be indented, because when we're doing a new chapter, the first line should be flush left and then the ones beneath it should not. And I've just realised I haven't taken off the paragraph spacing, so I'll take that away so that no longer has paragraph spacing. Okay, finally. Now I need to make the introduction a heading, so I'm going to stick it as a first paragraph first. I could just make it heading 1 and then modify that, or I could do the modifications and then update heading 1 to be like it. So let's see how it will look. This is quite an old book, obviously. Oh my goodness, that's an understatement. This is an old-fashioned book, and it wouldn't be appropriate to do very, very fancy formatting because that wasn't the style in older times. So I'm just going to do something quite light on the formatting and see how it looks. Nowadays we tend to do a much bigger gap at the top of a page so that people have much more white space. It's less daunting. So okay, that's probably about the right size. So I'm going to update heading 1 to match that alteration that I've just made. So that is our new heading 1. I'm just going to bring up my ruler to make sure it's not indented, and it's not, otherwise that would be moved. Okay, Utopia might have become, yes, so it needs to be first paragraph. It had become the new normal, and all of these need to be first para as well. Okay, so now I can start going through and putting the section breaks in. Before I do that, I'll make those both first para and put my section break in. I think I'll do a next page, so we started it on a right hand page, but for the rest of the book I'll just do next page. And that wants to be a heading 1. That's first para, and the next one, yeah, that's a huge paragraph, my goodness. The next one is the normal indented. Okay, so I'm just looking for the next chapter now. There's an extra space that doesn't need to be there. This is the beauty about formatting your own books. You pick up on little inconsistencies and errors, and sometimes perhaps a formatter who's doing it for you wouldn't actually know that they weren't meant to be there. So making those both first paras before I put the section break in. It doesn't have to be before I put it in, but I'm just choosing to do so. That was a short one. Okay, I'll go through and do the rest now so as not to bore you too much, and then we'll come back and start to look at the page numbering. Okay, I've added the section breaks and I've come back to the beginning. Before I change the page numbers, I'll change the setup of the document, the margins and everything else in that section. So on the ribbon, I'm going to go to page layout and page setups. That's that little arrow. Word default is for 1-inch margins all round, but we want a book layout. So we're going to go to 0.76 for the top, bottom and left, and 0.5 for the right. Gutter is fine at 0.13. This is a short novel, so these are fine. Sometimes you might have to make them a little bit different. On multiple pages, as always, we want mirror margins because it's a book, and we want to make sure we're applying it to the whole document. So apply to whole document. I won't click OK yet because I want to go to paper on the tab. I want to come to the very bottom of this paper size box to custom size, and I'll go for a 5x8. Because it's a novel, because it's a short novel, this is quite a good size. It's the smallest size Create Space do. It's not exactly a pocket novel, but it's a good size. On layout, I'll go for an odd page start, section start. We want different odd and even pages, and we'll go for a different first page as well. Headers, 0.3 for both is a good one. Vertical alignment can stay at the top, and it's definitely whole document. And let's click OK, see how it looks. It's gone to 107, no, it's jumping. It's gone to 189 pages. I'm just going to zip to the end and make sure it's stopping at that. Yeah, 189 pages. Now it's a smaller page size. That size 20 for the heading 1 is looking a bit big. Take it down a bit. Yeah, 17's okay. Check the next one has updated. 17, okay, we're all right. So what we need to do next is to put in our page numbers. And we'll do that in the next video.